I stand by what I think I've said before. These programs are made by people who hate games but love computers. Do you know what I mean? Like, they are absolutely not designed for people to actually use. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not designed for game makers. They're designed for computer nerds. Yeah, which is why, like, why did you not just hire like a game consultation person? It's like, I make games for a living. This is what I need from a game engine, and this is how I want to work. Like,
you know, people do use Unreal, right?
Oh no, yeah, I know. But it's very clearly one of those programs where you're like, this is not meant for. I'm trying to think of a reference point that you've actually used. But the only other program that I can think of is Sibelius. I don't know if you've used that before.
Nah.
Sibelius is basically a score writing program. So it writes scores. And it writes really good scores, but it is the absolute worst program I have ever had the displeasure to use because it doesn't have a UI. It's one of those programs where you're like, everything is in a hidden menu, and it takes 7 centuries to find out how to write a fucking note. And it's like, I know how to write this score. I could handwrite this score in about 20 minutes, right? And it's taken me 4 days to just try and write this on the stupid computer. Because it was made by people who don't write music. They write computer programs.
Okay.
So like, it's all set up in a way that computer people would understand. But like, actual musicians, the people who'd actually use your product, don't work in that same way.
Yeah, but you do have to realise there's a difference between that and game making.
Not really. Yes, like, it's not a one-to-one comparison, but it's that kind of idea where, like, the people making the product made a product for them rather than it's what you used. Well, I say you, but all children used to do, where they buy presents for other people, but stuff that they want. It's one of those kinds of deals where, like, you're using the program and it's like.
No, I get that, but again,
I'm not saying like it's a bad engine. I'm sure it does. Okay, in my experience, it's a bad engine, but that's because it doesn't work. Like, I've never got it to actually do anything without crashing. That might be its fault. That might be my computer's fault. I don't know.
I think that's more computer than.
Probably, which is why, like, I personally find it incredibly frustrating and annoying. But, like, I'm not going to say objectively it's a terrible program, because, like, like you said, like, a lot of people use that shit, and it works wonders.
No, it's just, like, the way I'd argue it is that the difference between game creators and computer nerds, as you put it, is probably not as big as you think.
Well, I do know, like, a bunch of. This is why Final Fantasy 15 took so long. I think it's 15, because they insisted on using the Crystallize engine or something like that. It was called something really weird, and none of the game makers knew how to fucking work it. So they're like, how do we work this? So they had to keep calling basically the people who designed the engine to ask them how to work it. Same with Anthem, I think, as well.
No, yeah, I get that, but that is more of the issue of, like, me coming up to you and saying, make good music on GarageBand. It's just like, how the fuck does one use this?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's not what I meant. What I meant, actually, yeah, speaking of music programs, it's kind of like, they're built in a way, so, like, I haven't used a lot of Cubase, but it is built in a way so you can see all of the tracks that are playing, you can see what's playing when. You know, it's very like, okay, clearly you're going to need to see this kind of thing.
No, like,
and they understand that.
Yes, but then there's also, like, Fruity Loops and everything.
Yeah.
Where it's all done on, like, one track, and I've watched tutorials and still don't understand what the fuck they were doing.
No, yeah. What I'm saying is like I'm not saying it's impossible to work. What I'm saying is like there's programs that are helpful to work, and then there's when you have to work around the program because it's being an asshole, or it's just designed in a way that's really not helpful.
No, like what you have to remember is it doesn't have to be user friendly.
Okay, that's where I disagree. I think programs do need to be user friendly. Like if
No,
you're designing a program for a certain purpose, like you have to think
not
about who's
professional.
using it. Sorry, what was that?
Not professional.
Yeah. Like especially with professional stuff, because it's like if you're going to put the professional price tag on something, professionals know what they're talking about, so they need certain. They're going to be very, very discerning in their tastes.
No. What I'm saying is, sure, the UI sucks, whatever. That doesn't matter. It's as much as them not having the things.
It's to do with workflow. Sorry, for me. So like for example, if I'm like Pro Tools is quite a big one amongst like pro people, because you have like an entire, the way Cubase and Logic work is that you have like a main engine that does everything. So it does your reverb, does your things, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? All that. In Pro Tools, it's separated. So you have one engine that specifically does reverb, and it makes you sound dope. Problem is, if your program is impossible to use, or like not optimized for quick use, which is why shortcuts are such a big thing. Like if you've got you're recording like an entire orchestra, and you've got quite easily upwards of like 100 tracks, you need to be able to scroll through them, search them, group them. Do you know what I mean? Things like that, where you're like, I need to be able to do this, and I need to be able to do this quickly.
Yeah.
Programs like Unreal and things like that don't really do anything. They're not particularly well optimized, in my opinion, and that is very limited opinion. They're not particularly well optimized for such things.
No, again, like you're saying, it's not user friendly. The odds are, if you learn the software, then it probably is. Like,
yes.
do you remember when I first got Blender?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I have literally no idea what's going on. I don't know how to get the edit tab or whatever. And now I'm sitting there just like, oh, I do this. Sure, it's not convenient, but you can still do it within seconds. It just takes a while to learn how.
Yeah, okay, that's what I mean. Like, there's a difference between... We're talking about two different things. Like, there's a difference between, like, working a terrible engine. My controller stopped working.
Oh.
I can't attack. Why can't I attack? Okay, sorry, yeah. There's a difference between, like... I mean, if you take it between games, it's the difference between... Shadow the Hedgehog and Smash. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we were good at Sonic the Hedgehog, but it wasn't a good game. Like, we just learned how to manipulate a bad engine, essentially. Or a bad control system, whatever.
Okay.
Whereas Smash is an objectively, like, it's better controlled.
Okay.
Or like Sonic Heroes.
Don't remember that, but
Okay.
sure.
But, like, I'm trying to think of a game you actually played that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just still not getting your point.
What I'm saying is, you're saying is like, we were good at being good at like unfriendly engines doesn't make the engine good. Do you know what I mean? It's like it does. It's like, yeah, okay, you can still do it in seconds, but you just said
No.
Like, it's not particularly well optimized.
What
like,
I'm trying to say is that whatever the engine is, there's some sort of learning curve.
Yes, and I'm not.
And
yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that Unreal may not be as complicated as you think. It just may have like lots of hidden shortcuts and shit like that. So
Right.
yes, when coming into it at the beginning, it's just like, oh, this is shit. You can't do this,
Okay.
this easily, and then you're just like, oh, I've just been doing it wrong.
Right. Okay.
That's what I was trying to say with the blender
Oh,
thing.
right. Okay. Um. Sure. I mean, yes, that is quite a possibility because I'm not by any means an expert in Unreal. But yeah, I do get that impression where it's one of those programs that is you have to work around it rather than kind of using it to work. In the same way that like Sibelius, and the only reason like people use Sibelius is because it does make some really good scores. It's just the worst program in the world to actually use because it's just so difficult. Like everything you have to do is about 4 clicks. Yeah, that was just my impression of Unreal.
Yeah, again, again, oh, sorry, I can't really make an opinion because I haven't used it,
Right.
but going off, like, softwares I have used that seem very unfriendly, I do realise that mostly it's me that's the issue.
Well, I mean, like, because it's with games. Like, this is the same thing with games. It's like, what's the difference between a good game and a bad game? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, are you just bad at the game? Sorry, that was a really bad explanation. Are you bad at the game, or is it the game being bad? Do you know what I mean? Like, because to look at, like, it might just be like when someone gets really, really fucking good at Sonic 06. Like, everyone knows that Sonic 06 is just this fucking broken mess. But everyone's like, "Oh no, I'm fucking great. I don't know what you're talking about." And you're like, just because you're good at it doesn't make the product itself like good. Like, it's still objectively like just broken as fuck.
No, yeah, I get that, but again,
But
I
to look
don't
at,
see
like,
how
it would be
that-
like, because it's exactly kind of what you're saying. It's like to look at, you see someone doing it, and they're going, "Oh yeah, you know, you do this, 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 and this." Do you know what I mean? When you're like, okay, but like, should you have to? Is what I'm saying. It's like in Sonic 06, that you know, you have to kind of, Shadow the Hedgehog. We both played that. Like, you can't actually steer with the directions. You have to steer with the camera.
No, yeah, I get what that part of it. I just still don't get the Unreal section.
Oh, I think it's the same thing. I personally think it's the fact that people have just got good at playing a bad game, essentially. The program equivalent of get good at playing a bad game. Like, so what we did with Shadow the Hedgehog.
No,
You
but
learn how
there's
to work.
also the approach of, like, naturally, no same games have the same controls.
No, yeah, it might just be like a Dragon Ball FighterZ thing, where it's like, it's just a complicated game.
No, that's what I always think with, like, high-end programs.
Right.
Because if you look at Unreal,
Yeah.
or in theory, it can do shit tons.
Oh, totally.
Which means if it goes, here's an inbuilt shortcut or a short way to do this, then someone who doesn't use it for that goes, oh, then why don't you have a quick thing for this?
Right.
And you just end up getting... Do you remember, like, the old Internet Explorer, where you have so many of those, like, bar tab things up top
Oh god, yeah.
that you just not have any window space?
Yeah.
I assume it would have been like that. So,
Right.
yes, it's kind of hidden, but it's all there.
Okay, yeah.
As opposed to, like, a bad software that just doesn't have
no,
the
like,
option.
I'm not saying it's broken, I'm just saying it's terrible to use. Kind of like, yes, you don't play a lot of, like, games I want to reference, so, like, they won't really make much sense, but, like, kind of like Anthem, where, like, it looked gorgeous, but it was just, and, like, it just didn't work. Do you know, where it's like, that's actually a bad example, but, like, what it makes, I'm not questioning the quality of what it makes. Like, it makes some amazing games, and it can be used to make some amazing stuff. What I'm saying is that the amount of effort that you have to put in to making the engine work, not just making the game, is way more than it needs to be. So it's like, not only do you have to work really hard to make the game, you have to work really hard to make Unreal make the game. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, your tool is not helping you. It's kind of being a bit of a hindrance.
Wait,
it's
so
like
what?
trying to use a screwdriver to bang in a nail.
No, what exactly are you complaining about?
I'm saying that Unreal is the most user-unfriendly program.
In, like, what way? For what exactly?
In the way that everything I want to do, it is very, very difficult to do. Even like the super most I just wanted to export my thing, and it was like, here's 2 seconds. And it's like, all I want to do is like just export a little bit more. I want like I don't know, 3 minutes or something, and I type in 3 minutes, and it's like, here's a minute. Do you know what I mean? Where it's very counterintuitive. I don't know what it's measuring in, and it has no kind of way of telling me what it's measuring in. It just goes, here you go. And it's one of those programs where it's like, you have to just know. So it's like,
Yeah, so...
it's not like Logic,
I-
for example, which tells you what it's counting. Like, the time signature's there, the beat's there. It's quite literally, like, even if you didn't understand time signatures, you can see it counting.
No, yeah, I get that.
So it's
But-
like, with this, I don't know what it's counting in. It's just doing something, and I don't know what. And I need it to tell me what. Or at least, like, if I click on it, I need you to what's going on. Do you know what I mean? The equivalent
See-
of, like, clicking on a track in your door. So it's like, okay, what are you playing? And it'll tell you what it's playing. It'll show you. This, you click on it, and it'll be like, yep. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. This is...
No, yeah, again, I reckon that comes more under, like, user familiarity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which,
Um,
again, I will argue that if you're a professional who's paying however much to essentially learn one program, then it's not too big of a deal. Like, for example, Logic.
Yeah.
You've paid for that, you're not going to use anything else. I've paid for Cubase, I'm not going to use anything else.
Well, that's the difference, okay? So, actually, technically, yes, you are going to use something else. You're going to
What?
use whatever the fuck the studio says you're going to use. That's genuinely how it works in music and in games. So, like, that's why you get a lot of developers who, like with Anthem and Final Fantasy, they were like, we know how to make games. That's what we do. You hired us to make this game, and then you said you have to use this engine. We're like, we don't know how to use this engine. How the fucking hell do we get it to do anything?
No, yeah, I get that. That's again, user, not... That's,
No, because it sounds like... I might be misunderstanding, but it sounds like your argument's basically just get good.
No, what I'm trying to say is that you do have to learn it. And for example, you coming from Logic expecting, oh, it should show me this, should show me this. Just like, no.
No, okay, that's where we disagree. Like, there are some absolute things where it's like, no, I need to see this. Like, there's no getting around it. It's like, I need to see levels. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to show me levels, you have to show me what's playing and when it's playing.
Yeah, I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Okay.